Hey everyone, and welcome back to Hey Dad RC. I am super stoked to do this video, and I'm going to spare you the drama of and the wreckage and the sounds of me opening up a box. I've already got the truck out of the box, and of course we're talking about the Arrma Gorgon. Some things before I get into this truck and everything that you get with it. First and foremost, my apologies if this first look goes a little long, but I want to be as comprehensive with the first look of this truck as possible. Number two, when I first heard that this truck was announced, I think it was in the neighborhood of 3 weeks ago, on different social media sites, there seemed to be a decent amount of negativity towards this truck. I read a lot of comments, people saying, it looks like a toy, it's toy grade, nobody wants a two-wheel drive monster truck, it's a knockoff of the Granite or the the Voltage series and all those things. But when I saw this, I thought, man, this truck looks pretty good, and this version here, only $139. Yeah, I need to get my hands on that. Now, number one, I like my solid axle monster trucks. They're fun. But if you've been along this channel before, you also know that I really like two-wheel drive monster trucks as well. Overall, for me personally, two-wheel drive is more fun to drive. So when Arrma announced this, yeah, I was super excited about this. And this is, I think, as long as I've been doing this channel, this is only the second time that I've actually ever pre-ordered an RC car. The first one being a few years back, the Team Lozy, the 18 scale brushless car there. So yeah, I went over to Tower and put my pre-order in. Now there are different versions of this truck that you can buy. This blue version is the only one that they sell ready to run, put together, but without a battery, without a charger. I didn't need those things, so I figured I would save myself a few bucks there. There's a green bodied version, a red bodied version. Those come with chargers and 8.4 volt nickel metal hydride batteries. Those retail for $169.99. This one here, $139.99, and they also do a kit version with a black body that you have to put together yourself. Arrma says you can do it in about an hour, and that one retails as well for $169. Not going to get into what a Gorgon is. A simple Google search would tell you guys that it is based in Greek mythology, Medusa, hence the serpent eyes and the snakes in the back. What I found interesting when I pulled this out of the box was this decal here, S.L. Jackson. I just kind of got curious and thought, what could that be, or who could that be? And the only thing I could find searching around was Samuel L. Jackson. I doubt this truck has anything to do with him, but more importantly, to me, it piqued my curiosity. This little red decal here, I'm not going to zoom in. I actually had to zoom my camera in earlier to see what it actually said, but this decal here says Mythology League. Makes me wonder, are there going to be different bodies coming out on this chassis, possibly based in Greek mythology? Just something interesting to keep in mind to see if that is something that indeed does happen. So before we get into the truck, I'm going to show you quick what you get in this box, and again with the blue one, no battery, no charger. First off, Arrma throws you 4 AA cells for your radio, bind plug for your receiver, this bag here that contains more preload spacers for your shocks. There are 3 different Allen keys in there as well. This nifty tool, I've not seen one like this before, but basically this one here, you can undo your wheel nuts, and this part here is used to set your slipper clutch. I thought it a pretty unique tool that Arrma threw in with that one. As well, you get the Arrma Gorgon, what they call technical pack. It just shows you how to set up your slipper clutch, your pinion if you decide to change pinion gears, and something that I always like to see, exploded parts diagrams with part numbers. Always nice to keep handy in the drawer for when and if you break something. And then you get your owner's manual, just goes over different functions of the truck and whatnot. I'm not going to open this up and get into it. And your radio. The radio they give you is a Spectrum SLT2. It's a 2-channel radio. On the back, you'll find your power button. You'll find your steering reversal button. Here is your throttle limiter. You know, for younger kids and such, you can start it off at 50%, max of 75, or you can go up to, you know, 100%. And then on the front as well, you've got your steering trim and steering dual rates as well. Always like when you can dial down or up the dual rate. That's going to do it for the stuff that comes in the box. Now let's talk about this truck. Now, if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you know I love monster trucks, and probably the thing that I am drawn to first with monster trucks are the tires. Just that classic chevron type pattern. Big tires, just it's what I like. So anyways, the tires on here, number one, they come glued onto the rim for you, so you don't have to worry about that. There are no foams in here, just so you know. Not necessarily a bad thing. The Trexa Scully that I had that came with tires like this didn't have foams in them, and I thought that it helped the truck, as you jumped it, look a little bit more like a real monster truck. So no foams here in these, and they are vented as well. But the tires themselves, for a ready-to-run tire, they actually feel pretty supple. You know, I have the ECX Axe, really good-looking monster truck. Those tires are extremely hard and offer zero grip. I probably would drive the truck more if I put different tires on it. And even the Trexa Scully, which they also put those same tires on their Bigfoot, softer than the Axe, but not quite as soft as these. So pretty impressed with that. You get 4 oil-filled coil-over shocks. They are not threaded, so you use those spacers to adjust your ride height. And depending on the color of your body, a lot of color coordination within the whole Gorgon series. Blue body, you get blue accents, blue shock springs. And as well, front and rear, Arrma puts these little guards in front of the shocks. Always a nice touch when companies do that. And keeping in mind, all the things here that we're going to show you, at least for this blue model, you're talking about $139. Where are you going wrong with that? In my opinion, you're not. Also, this truck features ball bearings all the way around, ball bearings in the transmission. You will not find plastic or metal bushings in this truck whatsoever. Pretty stoked about that as well. And like I said, with the color of your vehicle, all different types of color matching accents, front, rear bumper, bottom battery plate, which we'll talk about in just a moment, front, rear color matching skids. It just comes together nicely. It looks sharp. Also with this, you don't have adjustability on this truck as far as camber and towing and all that stuff, which is fine with me. All too often, I tend to not fiddle about with those things too much unless I'm building a Tamiya kit from scratch that has them in there. I typically don't play around with them too much. I just like to get out there and bash. That's me. Like I said, the shocks are oil filled. They could use a little bit more spring back. Before I drive this, I might check the oil in there, but definitely could probably use some preload spacers on the front. Double wishbone suspension. These A-arms, front and rear, look pretty beefy. Looks like they'll be able to take a decent amount of abuse. We've already talked about the body and how good that looks. Another nice touch by Arrma, a few different things that they did with this body. Again, I keep going back in my head, also at the price point of $139. This whole black piece right here on the front of the body is plastic. So even though you have a bumper, this plastic part sticks out just a little bit more than the bumper. And having that on there, I think, is also going to help your body take more impacts as time goes on. And something else you may have noticed about the body, no clips up top. Helps keep the truck look nice and smooth, a little bit more realistic, and I'll show you right now how you secure the body to the chassis. The clips as well is something that I have not yet seen on an RC. Typically, most RC cars, you have 4 body clips to hold the body in. With the Gorgon, there's 2. You reach right under here. Look at that body clip. That's something different. But you have one to pop off in the front. Do the same thing in the rear. And that's how it's secured. You've got these mounts already mounted to your body, front and rear. And I had to pull a little bit to get the front of it out, but I'm sure that will loosen up a little bit over time in usage. Although for the most part, there's really never going to need to be a need to take the body off, which is always nice. And a lot of times with rear loading battery trays on RC cars, more often than not, I'm not a fan of it. More often to me they seem a little bit wonky and really not user friendly. The one on this truck does seem user friendly. And one more feature on the body I thought was just another nice touch is you've got a license plate on the rear. That's clear plastic covering the license plate, and I think with the different color models they have different names. Uriel, I don't know what that's about, but really nice. And again, back here where that body mount goes also comes out on the top and offers you a little bit more protection of the body. Just a really nice touch there. And here's your chassis. Yes, it does look a lot like the Voltage series. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, although I don't have it anymore. I did have the Phase-On, and for the price that I paid for that, which I think was $99, I got a lot of use out of that truck, a lot of fun. I put a brushless system in it, ran 3S on it, and I didn't have any problems with mine. So I don't necessarily think that this chassis is a bad thing. It of course has been updated. It does feel a little beefier. The plastic feels a little tougher. Mid motor mount, always helpful when it comes to landing jumps. A little bit better weight distribution. Up top you have your Spectrum. This is a 2-in-1 ESC unit. You have a jumper plug right here, which you will use for right here to use a switch between LiPo and NIM. Keep in mind, coming out of the package, this is set to NIM, so if you want to run LiPos, make sure that you switch this jumper plug over to the left so that you don't run the risk of damaging your electronics and your battery. So keep that in mind. And another thing about this unit that I was reading, if you decided for whatever reason that you wanted to use a different radio, you can still use this as a standalone ESC, mount your own receiver and your radio in here, and you don't have to change this. This will act as a standalone ESC. Another nice touch by Arrma. We talked about the mid-motor design, and that is a 550 size brushed 14-turn motor. I like that there's a 550 in there. They're cheap enough that I kind of like the Traxxas 12-turn motors. At some point I might put it in there. I might find that the 14-turn is enough for me. I don't know, we'll see when we drive it. But again, a lot of this truck just feels very stout. You get a shot here at the telescoping drive shafts in the rear. These things are pretty thick, pretty beefy. They are plastic, but again, it just looks like it's going to take what you can throw at it. Here is your cover to access your slipper clutch, your pinion gear, and one more thing that a lot of people belabor the point with the drive cups on the Voltage series. I'm going to pull this wheel off and we'll have a look at that. Alright guys, here it is. I have got the drive shafts pulled out. Yep. What drive cups? This is what you get when you take the end of the telescoping. Zoom out here, sorry about that. What you've got your output here. You have a very large bearing here to your splined shaft that goes through, captured on the other side with another bearing. Your pin that holds in your 12mm hub. That's it. So these, again, I've got fat fingers. These are pretty beefy drive shafts. Yeah, looking at this truck right now, there's definitely a reason why Arrma states that this truck, that the transmission, the truck itself, is all ready for you to put brushless power in it. I'm sure at some point down the line we'll do that, but for me, it's probably going to be a ways down the line. I want to give a good number of runs into this truck to see how everything holds up. The steering servo, the transmission, the 14-turn motor that they put in here. I'm going to put it through its paces on 2S quite often. Let me get this thing buttoned back up and we'll get around to finishing this preview. Something else I wanted to show you guys real quick. I talked about the guards all along on the shocks here that Arrma does. It just helps keep debris out, helps from flinging debris into the shocks, help protect them. Built into these rear bearing carriers as well, molded right into it, is a guard that protects that part of your drive shaft that goes into the carrier. So to me, Arrma thought about a whole lot of different things. I'll get into that in just a second. Only a couple of other things that I wanted to show you guys. The servo is a Spectrum digital servo. We'll see if it's got the torque to properly turn these big meats up front. A lot of times in ready to runs, servos quite often are just not strong enough. You go on to Amazon nowadays, you can get a 20-25 kg servo, and they do the job. I buy those for certain cars. I'm building the Tamiya GF01 King Yellow. I bought one of those servos for that, and who knows, maybe sometime down the line I'll have to put one of those in here, but we'll see how this does stock. And the only other thing I was going to show you guys is a battery mounting system on this. Like I said, I'm typically not a huge fan of bottom mounting or bottom accessible battery doors. Just a lot of times they just don't seem user friendly to me. This one here, both sides, you pop those in. Bam, pops right out. There are 3 strips of foam secured to the inside just to help keep your battery a nice soft ride. Here you have your plug. That is a IC5 plug, I believe. So you can use IC5 or EC3 plugs. Either one will work. I run adapters because I run Deans on all my batteries, for the most part, are Deans. People tell you not to use connectors. Myself personally, I haven't had an issue. If you went ahead and did the pre-order, Arrma was offering a pre-order special, a bonus if you will, where they send you a second battery door of a different color, just to kind of personalize your truck if you want to. With the blue one, I think it's a red one that they're sending. And if you did the pre-order and you got your truck and you're wondering, hey, wait a minute, where's my other battery door? I didn't get it. Check the status of your order. It'll show that the truck has shipped, but they are still awaiting shipment on the other doors. So I'm sure when they get them, they'll send them out. I'm not overly worried about it. Mine's probably going to sit in the drawer anyways. So after taking a pretty in-depth first look at this truck, for me personally, and again, I went out and bought this truck with my own money. I'm not a big YouTuber that gets thrown RC cars for free to review. And a lot of times I go for the cheaper options because that's what I can afford. So with that being said, a lot of the hate that I see on different Facebook groups about this truck, this is not simply just a rehashed, rebranded Voltage series. Far from it. Yes, it's that mid-motor design monocoque chassis, but this thing is different. And to me, Arrma put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into this truck. And I also think that they built it with newcomers in mind. And yes, a lot of people like it when the Arrmas and the Traxxas and the Axials and all these big companies come out, with the big 6S, 8S rigs. They're big, they're fast, they're torquey, Those are great. They have their place. But in my opinion, just as much, these more inexpensive offerings have their place in the hobby as well. And not just for newcomers, not just for kids. Not every adult like myself needs to go 50, 75 miles an hour. I can go out there and run my Tamiyas all day, my slow Tamiyas with silver can motors, and have an absolute blast. I think this truck is going to be a lot of fun. Of course, the proof will be in the pudding once we get out there and run it. Having said that, it is Wednesday evening, And tomorrow's looking to be a nice day, but I gotta work, so chances are good I'm not gonna be able to get a run in tomorrow after work. So the problem lies with the weather here, what they're forecasting over the next several days. I'm excited. We got a 3-day weekend coming up. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all looking like rain. It has been in the 80s here the last couple of days. These temperatures are going to dip down into the 50s, into the 40s as well. It's going to be windy and rainy. Of course it is. I've got a new RC truck to show you guys running. It's looking like on those 3 days, possibly Monday might be the best day, so we might get it out there and give it a run then. But I want to get the first running video out as soon as possible. So as soon as the weather and time allows, I'm going to do that. And you know, if this is your first trip along the channel because you went to YouTube and typed in Arrma Gorgon, you wanted to know more about it, I urge you, if you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications. It's free. It helps the channel out quite a bit. And I think that's going to do it, guys. I am really excited about this one. I can't wait to get it out there for its first run. I know this was a long video, but I wanted to be as in-depth as possible for people that were looking at this and maybe on the fence. I have owned the Voltage series. This is different. A lot of similarities, but a lot of differences. I think Arrma did a bang-up job with this. So guys, as always, thanks for taking some time out of your day to check out my videos. And until next time, everyone stay safe. We'll see you around.